Ready for an adventure? Let's talk about traveling with pets, especially as we reach those, shall we say, golden years.
Those are the best years for traveling with your furry friend.
We're diving deep into a blog post today called Traveling with Pets as a Senior.
Oh, from traveling in my 70s, right?
You know it. It's packed with great tips. And honestly, I think we sometimes forget that it's not just about if we can travel with our pets these days.
Yeah, it's about making it enjoyable for everyone.
Exactly. So, no more cramming Fluffy into a too small carrier and hoping for the best.
We're talking quality adventures here.
That's the spirit. And you know what surprised me? The blogger mentioned seeing a pet stop at the airport in Rio.
A what? Like a dedicated
Pet.
for pets. They have their own little spot.
You know, that actually doesn't surprise me. More and more travel companies are realizing that.
Pets are part of the family.
Exactly. It's becoming a major factor in how people choose airlines, hotels, the whole 9 yards.
Speaking of, let's talk about the elephant, or should I say, the dachshund in the room. Transportation. Always a challenge.
Yeah.
And maybe even more so when we're a bit
Seasoned.
diplomatically put.
Well, the blog dives right into air travel, and let's be real, it can be a bit overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. All those rules. Pet size, which airlines allow, which breeds, cabin versus cargo.
And don't forget about the potential health risks.
Especially for older pets. Like us, they're not always up for the hustle and bustle.
It's true, those long flights can be rough. And the blogger even mentioned airlines that ban certain breeds.
The brachycephalic pups, right.
Those smooshed faces. Apparently, they can have trouble breathing at higher altitudes.
Makes sense, but not something you'd necessarily think about until it's too late.
Hence, the deep dive. Knowledge is power in these situations.
Couldn't agree more.
But the blog does offer some great solutions, like choosing a pet-friendly airline.
Oh, some of them go above and beyond these days. Little welcome packages, extra treats.
Pampered pups, I love it. And direct flights whenever possible, right?
Less time in transit, less stress for everyone.
Makes sense. And what about those calming aids I've heard about?
Those it can be lifesavers. Pheromone sprays are popular.
I've seen those. Do they actually work?
Honestly, it depends on the pet, but many people swear by them. There are also calming chews.
Like treats?
Exactly. And even music designed to soothe anxious animals.
You're kidding.
Nope. There are whole playlists out there. And of course, in some cases,
The vet might recommend something stronger.
right, medication can be an option if your pet has severe anxiety. But it's all about finding what works best for your furry friend.
Absolutely. Now, what about those of us who'd rather keep our our feet firmly on the ground? Any tips for car travel?
Well, the blog stresses securing your pet properly, which seems obvious, but
You'd be surprised how many people just let their dog ride shotgun.
a recipe for disaster. A sturdy carrier is essential.
Or pet seatbelt, right.
Exactly. And just like with us humans, regular stops are key.
Bathroom breaks, stretching those legs.
Fresh air, a chance to move around.
You know, I like to think of it as building in little adventures within the bigger adventure.
I love that. It's all about perspective.
Now, what about trains and buses?
Ah, those can be trickier. Options are often more limited, unfortunately.
The blog mentioned that. Stricter rules, sometimes only service animals allowed.
It really depends on the company and the specific route.
So research is key.
Absolutely. Booking in advance is never a bad idea either. Gives you time to explore alternatives if needed, like maybe a rental car makes more sense in some cases.
But even with the best transportation, there are still those unique challenges that pop up, especially as we get older.
Right, like our bodies might not always cooperate with our adventurous spirits.
Exactly. And the blog dives into that, like the physical strain of traveling with a pet. We've all been there, right? Lugging that heavy carrier through the airport.
Oh, tell me about it. My shoulders are aching just thinking about it.
But the blog highlighted some great solutions. Wheeled carriers, for instance.
Oh, those are lifesavers. Some of them even look like regular luggage these days.
So civilized. And those lightweight pet strollers.
Don't laugh, they're genius. Especially for smaller dogs or seniors who might not have the stamina for long walks.
True. And a good, sturdy harness is a must. Gives you a bit more control, takes some pressure off your back.
All about working smarter, not harder, right?
Always. Now, another challenge the blog mentioned is managing our pet's health on the road. It's easy to forget things when you're caught up in the excitement of travel.
Medications, special food.
Yeah.
It's a lot to keep track of.
The blog really stressed the importance of that pre-trip vet visit.
Oh, crucial. Make sure everything's in order. Get
Yeah.
refills on any prescriptions.
And don't forget to ask about any travel-related concerns, like are there any medications your pet should not be on while flying, for example?
Good point. Better safe than sorry. And speaking of, that pet first aid kit. Do you travel with one?
You know, I've been meaning to put one together. What do you usually pack in yours?
Oh, the usual suspects. Antiseptic wipes, bandages, some anti-diarrheal medication, just in case. And I always make sure to have the number for a 24-hour emergency vet at my destination.
Smart. You just never know what might happen.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of potential mishaps, let's talk about pet anxiety.
Oh boy, yeah. That's a big one.
Traveling can be really stressful for our furry friends. New sights, sounds, smells. It's a lot to handle.
So how do we help them cope?
Well, the blog had some great suggestions. For starters, pre-trip training, even just getting your pet used to being in the car or taking them to new places can make a world of difference.
Makes them feel more comfortable in unfamiliar situations.
Exactly. And what about those familiar comforts from home?
Oh, you mean like packing a favorite blanket or toy?
Exactly. That familiar scent can be really reassuring in a new environment. And of course, those calming aids we talked about earlier can be helpful too.
Right, those are good to have on hand. So we've talked about physical strain, health, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
What other challenges come with traveling with pets as seniors?
Well, finding suitable accommodations can be tricky.
You mean places that are truly pet-friendly? Not just hotels that say they are, but then stick you in a dingy room by the elevator.
Exactly. And for seniors, there might be other considerations. Ground floor rooms to avoid stairs, for instance.
Or a hotel with an elevator. Easy access to outdoor spaces.
You want to make sure it's convenient for both you and your pet.
Right, no one wants to be carrying a 20-pound dog up 3 flights of stairs after a long day of sightseeing.
Exactly. And this is where those online resources we talked about earlier can be lifesavers. Remember, bring Fido, go pet friendly.
Oh yeah, those were great. I can't believe I'd never heard of them before.
They let you filter your searches for specific amenities, like you can look for hotels with dog parks or walking trails nearby.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you can find a place that caters to everyone's needs.
Precisely. Now, the last challenge the blog talked about is something that affects us all, but maybe even more so as we get older.
You're talking about travel fatigue.
Exactly.
Those long flights can really take it out of you. And our pets feel it too, especially as they get older.
It's true, they might not have the same stamina they used to.
So how do we combat that?
Well, the blog had some great advice. For starters, pacing ourselves. Don't try to cram too much into each day.
So maybe skip that 10-hour bus tour.
Maybe. Choose destinations that allow for a more relaxed pace. Scenic drives, leisurely walks on the beach.
Ah, that sounds nice. But even with the best planning, sometimes things go wrong. What if our furry friend gets sick on the road? It's stressful enough at home, but what do you do when you're miles away from your regular vet?
Oh, I know that feeling. Definitely a good reminder to research local vets in advance.
I'll admit, I don't always think of that.
It's easy to overlook, but having that information handy can be a lifesaver.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And what about, making sure our pets are actually ready for the challenges of travel?
You mean like behavior-wise?
Exactly. The blogger talked about having a well-socialized pet. What does that even mean?
Basically, it means your pet is comfortable around other people, other animals, new environments.
So they're not barking at every passerby or freaking out in the hotel lobby.
Exactly. And that makes the trip so much more enjoyable for everyone.
For sure. Any tips on how to work on that, especially with senior dogs who might be a bit set in their ways?
The blog suggested ongoing training, even for older dogs. Just practicing basic commands in different environments can make a difference.
Keeps their mind sharp.
Yeah.
And speaking of being prepared, the blogger mentioned something I'd never even heard of. Pet travel insurance.
Oh, yeah. That's becoming more and more popular.
What is it, like health insurance for your pet while you're traveling?
Exactly. Covers things like vet bills if your pet gets sick on the trip or, God forbid, gets lost.
Wow, I had no idea.
Peace of mind, right? And sometimes it even covers damage your pet might cause.
Like if they decide to redecorate the hotel room.
Exactly. Speaking of which, the blogger had some great destination ideas. Like, they raved about national parks.
Really? I wouldn't have thought they'd be very pet-friendly.
A lot of them are surprisingly accommodating. Designated trails, even some campgrounds that allow pets.
Imagine those photos. You, your dog, and Yosemite.
Right. Instagram worthy for sure. And for something a little more low-key, they suggested pet-friendly beach resorts.
Oh, sign me up. Are those actually a thing?
Oh, yeah. Some even have special pet packages. Think comfy dog beds, special treats, maybe even a dog walking service.
Luxury. And what about something a little closer to home?
They recommended scenic road trips. Slower pace, you can stop whenever you want.
That sounds perfect. But planning a trip that works for both you and your pet can be overwhelming. Are there any resources that can help?
Absolutely. Remember those websites we talked about? Bring Fido, Go Pet Friendly?
Oh yeah, those are great.
They can help you find pet-friendly hotels, restaurants, even activities.
So you don't have to leave your furry friend behind.
Exactly. There are also apps like Rover, which can help you find pet sitters or walkers if you need a break.
So many options these days. This has been eye-opening. But before we go, any final thoughts? Dude, what's your biggest takeaway from all this?
For me, it's that traveling with a pet in our golden years might mean doing things a bit differently.
Adapting, right?
Exactly. Maybe we're not backpacking across Europe anymore, but we can still have amazing adventures with our pets.
Absolutely. It's about choosing experiences that bring joy to both of you. And with a little planning, it's easier than ever to make those golden years truly unforgettable. So here's to embracing those tail-wagging adventures no matter our age. Happy travels, everyone.